Welcome to Self-Discovery Radio, where the discovery of self is just a show away.
What makes you happy? Oh, believe. It comes in good time.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Your Story Matters, or Their Story Matters, with me, Sara Troy, and my guest today, a young guest, very inspirational, light beaming of light guest, Courtney Amundson. She's written a book called Teachings from God, Greeting Your Soul and Revealing the Divine Within. Now, you know I do a lot of shows on these type of things, but these are generally people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s or older. The unique thing about this young lady is that she's only 19, and her soul is so alive, her spirit flies, her heart is exuberant, and she's out there teaching people of her age how to tap into living in the divine, living with God's grace, tuning in, and allowing life to run through you like a beautiful energy. Not something we normally would see in someone so young. Normally it's a life's journey before they actually get there. But you can say she was born this way. I've said over and over again on many, many shows that if we allowed our children to embrace the gift that they were given, because everybody's been given a gift for a meaningful purpose, and it's always evident when they're young. If we nurture what it is they're designed for, encourage it, embrace it, and help build it, our children will step into their role much earlier in life and bring about a really wonderful, exuberant, divine energy that helps us all. And most of the time, people have to go through redirects in life, take a totally different path of life expectation, society's dictation, opinions and restrictions from other people, instead of flowing in their divine energy. When people make this redirect and they find their meaningful purpose, they truly are in their divine calling, and they know that no matter what's gone on in life or what led them to their purpose, the purpose is everything to them. So this young lady has found it early in life, and she's going to be that beacon of light that's going to help other people know how to embrace their soul's divine intellect, which will resonate with their heart in passion and compassion, that will lift their spirit into action and allow their mind to know when they need to know. She doesn't necessarily say knowingness, but we speak the same language. We just use different words. She's really an inspiration to have written this so young and to be out there doing what she's doing. And I embrace this beautiful divine gift that we have been given, an indigo child. So let's find out how, why, where, and what she's doing with it, and the resistance that she may have had, and also the beautiful light that she's shed upon people and the response that she's had. So let's take this journey with Courtney and discover her divine essence. Welcome to the show, Courtney.
Thank you. Wow, what a powerful way of words you have there.
Well, I can say the same for you, my dear. I mean,
it's very, you can feel it. You have a resonance in your voice, and as you said, we connect in a way that I don't with many people. So I think this is going to be a really amazing conversation, and I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm delighted to have you here. And, you know, as I said, I interview a lot of people who have had their redirect. You know, some people get it with a kiss on the brow, and they know, okay, you know, I'm not honoring my purpose, I need to redirect. And some people literally get the hatchet in the head. You know, life happens to them so catastrophically, and it's their wake-up call that you're not honoring what you're here for, what you're designed to be here for, because I do believe that there is a God design as to what our purpose is here, how we activate that purpose, you know, and how we choose to do it is up to us. But each one of us is given a gift, and that gift is for us to be of service, not servitude, to mankind, and to step into our own beautiful, meaningful purpose. And for you to be born this way, which I say all children are born this way, but for you to actually have stepped into this role so young and so prominently is really absolutely illuminating. and wonderful to see. And, kudos to your parents for embracing who you are and not trying to direct you in another direction. So
Right.
That is a gift in itself. So I know as a child I played with dead people. I could read energy, I could read spirits. I was a spiritual counselor as a child. I just knew things when I needed to know them. What's been your experience growing up in this, beautiful divine journey of yours that kind of led your way?
I've had so many phases in my life up until this point. When these teachings started to flow through me, I've had so many phases, and I feel like I've had so many transformations within myself, that I've been so many different people. And I think, as you said, my parents have been really amazing. My family has been really amazing, and I was never in a situation where I felt like I wasn't being honored for who I was. I never felt that I had to be anyone else, and all of my talents and all of my gifts were nurtured. And for all parents out there, I think it's so important to learn how to put your own fear aside and allow the wisdom that's coming forth in your kids to guide them and to lead them where they need to be. I think fear is such a powerful thing, and of course we all want the best for each other, especially if it's your children. You want the best for them, but everyone has their own soul journey. And I think what's been amazing and what I continue to be so grateful for in my life is that I could just follow that path without any pushing and shoving along the way. I didn't have to work so hard to, say this is what I want and really try to fight for that. I was given the right to do it. And so I pursued a lot of things as a kid. I grew up in a Waldorf school, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, a great experience, and also a huge learning experience for me. It actually pushed me in some ways that, I needed to work through some things also. And then I went to a lot of different schools, and I became very interested in music at a young age. I started playing violin when I was 9, and that became my life and my passion and my expression in every way, because I couldn't express myself in other ways. I felt judged. I felt in the box at school, and though I was in such a nurturing environment, I still felt like I couldn't be myself when I wasn't at home.
Mm-hmm.
And so my expression really came through music and art. And I love to paint. I love to play my violin all the time. And that passion has continued throughout my life up until this point. But then I started to slowly open myself up more and more. And as I switched schools, I had more opportunity to not feel defined by anybody. I let myself go a little bit more. And that was a experience for me to feel like, okay, now I can start defining myself. And I remember that transition when I was going into 5th grade. So it was a big point for me, which I started to sort of shift and transform. And then, I got caught up in the regular middle school, follow your peers, do the popular thing. But I guess I always had that within me, that guidance system within me that was stronger than all of that, even though I would still, follow the mainstream fashion and everything. And I was into that for a little while, and then I realized this doesn't feel right, and I was really stressed out, and I was really seeking answers and guidance, and I felt like everyone around me was different. I felt like all of that stress and resistance that I had towards school and my social environment, nobody could understand why. It was almost like I was the odd one out. I felt the odd one out, that I was always overreacting or feeling more than everyone else. And so it got to a point where I felt like I couldn't do it anymore, and I switched to an online school. And that's when I started to really feel like I was coming into myself. And it was just me. There was nobody else around me that I needed to worry about. And I was judging myself less and going deeper within myself. My spiritual life just prospered. And then I got very involved with Spring Forest Qigong, which is a branch of Qigong. There's many kinds, many thousands of kinds. But this specific Qigong here in Minnesota, I became introduced to when I was 9, but I started to really study it and be in the community starting when I was about 14. And I started to really deepen into my meditations. I went to this amazing conference with my mom and my 2 aunts, and I had a vision of Buddha in front of me in my third eye, and that was a huge awakening for me, I felt, because I felt so connected to something larger, and I felt that I was priming a relationship with something that I could really count on and really get true guidance from. And so for me, Buddha was a guide for me for a while. I felt like I could always go into my quiet place, my meditation place, and tune into that and just feel better. And then that transformed, and I kept studying Qigong. I kept spending a lot of time in meditation, and then I got more involved with listening to the Abraham Hicks material and Lee Carroll, and I found the information to feel so resonant with me, and I was amazed by the ability of a human being to access not even just information. It was beyond information. I would get really emotional listening to this because I could feel the love of spirit coming through them. And listening to those words made me feel like something within me wanted to be expressed in the same way. And I never considered that I would be doing this now. But
you kind of fell into your journey.
So how this really opened for me is it was a regular day for me. I was doing schoolwork, and I decided to take a meditation break like I often did on most days. But this time I felt that I was entering a new place, in the sense that there was less motivation about doing a meditation, or less intention about what I want to accomplish, or I was just less in my head. I felt that I had sunk into this deeper place of peace, and so I'm sitting there on the couch, and I say my usual mantra in my mind: I am in the universe is in my body, the universe and I combine together. That was something I learned from Master Lin, the Qigong master here. And when I said those words this time, I felt like I started expanding, and I became really light. I became just expansive and weightless. And I felt that I had risen above the couch, that I was just suspended in midair, and I felt unconditional love that flowed through me. And I remember distinctly sensing a golden funnel of light that came from the top of my head and started pouring through my body. And when I say pouring, it was more of an effervescent, golden, sparkly light kind of feeling. It was amazing, and it had intelligence in it. So much intelligence and love and wisdom, and I could feel it. And it started to spread throughout my body, trickle down my legs and my arms. And as it reached my fingertips, my hands started to move like they wanted to write. And I remembered thinking I had heard something similar from Esther Hicks when she made her first contact with Abraham. She had a similar experience. And so I knew what to do. I went over to the computer. I opened up a blank Word document, and with very deliberate typing, it started coming through. The words started coming through. And there was a force in it. There was a real deliberate kind of force. I could feel the light streaming from my fingertips. And I followed the impulse with every finger. And as I practiced this for a while, I got full paragraphs, and that was my initial contact. And from that day, it deepened, and my understanding and connection deepened exponentially. The first couple of weeks of receiving this information and this connection, I was so deep in meditation, the deepest I've ever been in meditation, and I can't, to this day, I can't go back to that place that I accessed in the beginning. But I
until the next book.
Yeah. But there was something special about that, that I don't think I want to try to replicate. But it was such an awakening for me, because I saw these other beautiful places that it was beyond, in your dreams, sometimes you wake up and you saw something really beautiful, but you can't necessarily picture it in color.
Yeah.
And for me, this was like the most beautiful dream, but I was conscious, and I knew I was there. And I could feel myself there. I could feel like I transported there, and I could feel the breeze, and I could feel it was just like I became part of the oneness.
Yes.
And as a human being, that's a really jolting experience, because you're not prepared to feel what that feels like.
Or how good it feels.
You don't know. It feels...
Well, it's a really out-of-body experience, isn't it?
It is, and you can't put words on it. You think that you know the meaning of love, and you think you know what's out there in the universe, and all of that was a huge, whoa, okay, I didn't learn this in science class. This is beyond. And so I became very, and I don't want to say addicted, but
immersed.
So in that experience, I would always want to be meditating for that first couple of weeks. I would always want to be there, because communicating with my higher self or God, whatever you want to call it, that higher source energy field. When I would tap into that, I felt like I knew the purpose of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting answers to all of these things that frustrated me for so long, things that I feared, and most of all, I think having such a passion for helping the world but not knowing how you can do it. So many kids right now are struggling with that, and there's so much drive in my generation, and even I look at my little cousins, and they have so much drive, and yet they don't know what to do with that energy, and they don't know how to help, but they know they want to. And
Well,
I always said that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I want to go back a few things. I mean, one is that beautiful travel you're talking about. It's very hard to explain because you're actually in nothingness and everythingness all at once.
Yeah.
And you're in that kind of space where you feel nothing, but just everything. But it's not measured like we would feel everything. It purely is that knowingness.
Right.
And
right.
and you're in such peace and such trust and such divineness, and you're downloading that beautiful divine intellect, and you're being a conduit to actually understand, resonating with your heart, where you just completely immersed yourself in it, and your spirit rose up to rise to the occasion, and then your mind knew what it needed to know, and it just poured through your fingertips and came out. So you were completely in that state of knowingness, which is when you open up to that divine, how it guides you, and never lies to you. It is always the complete truth. And it's us stepping out of our own programming. Let's go back to parents, is that parents push their kids to do this, that, etc., because they think that's what they need in order to thrive in life. But if they allowed a child to be, and it's like trying to force the garden to grow in a certain way. But if you just watered it and nurtured it and made sure it got the right amount of sun and the right amount of love, you would see that garden grow into something more extraordinary than you ever could have planned or dictated. And we're seeing today, I love watching these talent shows, and we're seeing kids get up at 15 or younger with performances way beyond their years.
Right.
But not only performances way beyond their years, with characters and integrity and dignity way beyond their years. And it's so exciting to see. But you talked about 2012. Well, that's when the awakening started really happening. That's when the volume was turned up. The frequency was risen, and we moved up to a different dimension. And that's when everybody started waking up to this consciousness. And I think that the children that were born in the millennia kind of got a full download of it. And we're seeing children today like yourself. I'm sorry, still a child in my eyes. A young woman, but still a child. Being so much more than we ever could have been, maybe even in our lifetime now. And that's because you've opened up your channels to that divine intellect, and you've allowed it to come through you and be used in a way that serves mankind. Because there was always meant to be a partnership between the divine and the human.
Yes.
We are a human being, and we cut off that divinity for so long, and only survived or never thrived as humans, because it was always flight or fight. That vicious cycle going on all the time. We needed that shift to happen for that divinity to come back in and flood into us to bring us to our knowingness. So you're very, very blessed. And we're very lucky to have you, because you're that next generation that is going to show people how to live in divine love.
Thank you. And though I just turned 20, and a lot of people look at me and say, well, you're too young to really have any comprehension of these very deep concepts. And there's a little bit of both. There's a little bit of people that see more validation because of my age, and there's others that question it more. And for me, although I do understand that here age is a thing.
Yes.
Age is a thing, but also I think in ways it has nothing to do with it because we are all in a different cycle, different soul evolution. And so, what I really want to help people to understand is that let's look at what people are delivering, what people are teaching, and not see what's on the outside as much. And I think that's what people are struggling with, because the voice that is speaking the words is usually going to challenge people in some way, in some fashion, to look beyond the outside and to see what's really being said, and how is it challenging humanity, and what is pushing them a little bit to move past their comfort zone. And there's so many people out there that have inspired me so much. I look at Malala, and she is an amazing person, amazing teacher, and all that she had to go through just to be heard.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor for life, because I felt that way too, even though I wasn't under the same circumstances. I felt like I had a voice, but not a vessel to express it, and I had to be patient. And I also had to learn that it's not just all about what I'm talking about either. I have to learn to really respect my elders, who also have very important information to share. And there's old souls in every generation. So it's less about, for me, I've drawn less upon the
life experience,
the labels, I guess, of being an indigo or being a, new age person, or, I want people to see what's beyond all of those things, and not necessarily look at my age and then make a judgment about it, but what's coming through, and how can that apply to you? How can you help bring enlightenment in your life?
Yeah, and who knows how many souls you've been before. We talk about elders having a lifetime experience to gain their wisdom, but I think what we're looking for now is the wisdom of past lifetimes coming through people at a younger age.
Yeah, and also what I've learned is that everything is happening in the now.
Yes.
There is one moment. For us, we see past, present, and future. But from the larger perspective, there's one point in which everything is occurring. And so that has helped me to draw upon the wisdom of what you might call the past, how we passed, and use that in my life today to help me with things that are challenging for me. For example, I was never good at public speaking or anything like that. I had a really hard time doing presentations in school. And so when I got put up to this task to write this book and to start sharing the messages in it, I didn't even learn, it just came to me. I became comfortable. And that's what happens when you follow your soul and you get presented with what you need, all the tools you need to make those next steps, even if it's not part of what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, the gift of life is in the present, which is in the now, and that knowingness, knowing what you need to know when you need to know it. When you open up those channels, you don't, your brain is a little computer. It's stored everything, from this lifetime, past lifetimes, everything you see. It's just computing it all the time. If we lived in our knowledge all the time, we would burst something. The brain would just, go. We wouldn't be able to compute it. So in living in that knowingness where it comes from that soul, divine intellect, to the heart, to the spirit, the mind then extracts what it needs to know for that situation in that moment. And if we trusted our knowingness more, because the divine never lies, it just doesn't have that concept. If we trust that knowingness, when it's heart resonance and the spirit really gets excited about it, we are in our divine truth in that moment. And if we step into that, instead of stepping into what do they want from me, step into what you need to give them. Because we're so caught up in society about delivering what everybody expects from you or wants from you, that we're not delivering what we need to give them, because that's what we're here for.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a fundamental piece for my work, and what inspired my work is that I was asking, how can I be of service for my life? And I knew I wanted to be something. You're always asked when you're young, what do you want to be? And you feel like you have to come up with an answer. I wanted to be so many things, but I think I want to insert here. We want to be so many things, but I think what it really is, if we change the dialogue, we want to have so many experiences. Yes.
And if we're looking at, we try a hand at dancing, we try a hand at singing, we try a hand at this or that, and it's an experience that we're gathering, but it's not a definition of who we are.
No, it's more like your soul is asking for an experience that's going to propel you in some way, or give you another tool that you need to pick up along the way. And it doesn't have to be one thing. Your life is not one thing. It is many things. And that's what I've gotten used to, is that I'm not just a musician. I'm not just an artist. I'm not just an author. I'm being used as a conduit to express myself in all of these ways. And our soul's purpose is many things usually. And what I've learned is you need to follow your passions. What makes you come alive when you experience them.
Absolutely.
And when you follow those things more, you get more of that coming back to you, and you get more guidance coming back to you on, next steps. But that is how we start living a life of no obligation anymore, doing things out of obligation, rather out of conscious
purpose,
intention and guidance.
There's something you wrote in your book here, which I'm looking at right now because it's apropos. The purpose of your being is to co-create love with one another. It is beyond magical. Let your heart go wild with love for everyone. There are no different than anyone else. The Pope, I love this new Pope, because he says, I don't care what faith you practice as long as it's in love and kindness. And if we make our code of conduct in life about love and kindness towards one another, just imagine what kind of planet we would have. And that love and kindness has to come not just from us, but because of us, because we are love and kindness for ourselves, as well as what we want to exude to others. You cannot be this broken vessel where you feel so insignificant and you're second guessing yourself all the time and you're insecure, because that's what you're going to give out to people. So embracing your journey, your divine, beautiful, meaningful purpose, and just being, just radiating, just glowing in it, is already an invitation for people to embrace their own beauty that lies within.
Absolutely. It's a teacher. It has magnetism to it, because what I've experienced is when you give someone else that slight bit of encouragement that, hey, you can just do this, and you don't have to worry so much about all of these little tiny things, that you're worried about getting in the way, and why aren't you pursuing this? And a tiny bit of encouragement can really help someone see the light. And
I call it inspiration for invitation.
absolutely, yeah.
You know, you're inspiring, and in your work, in your presence, in your ownership of what you're doing, you're an inspiration that invites others to see within themselves what gift lies within them. We can't bring the gift out. All we could do is show them how to look for it within themselves.
Yeah, thank you for saying that too, because I wanted to also say that my journey has not been effortless, and it might seem like that, and from the outside, and I have had amazing parents, but other things outside of me, outside of my family, have gotten me down and have not made me question, but made me uncomfortable about sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody is going to go through that phase.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. When you start coming out more and
don't be apologetic.
Taking the veils off. It's very vulnerable, and you're going to be uncomfortable at first. But what you're going to see coming back to you as you start to embrace yourself more is that other people treat you that way. They treat you how you treat you.
Yes.
And for me, I felt very, very judged in the beginning because I was still uncomfortable sharing. I was still questioning how people were going to react because I have people in my friends, my family, my acquaintances that I knew might react in a certain way. And so really what I had to do start embracing myself for who I really am, and then people started to see really what I'm about and started to look at the teachings instead of getting defensive. And
you can only reach those that are ready. I still have family members that still don't get me, and that's okay. I've been like this my entire life. It doesn't matter what I've done, how many experiences I've had, how many jobs I've had, which directions I've gone in life. That common thread of my purpose, that soul teacher, that soul enlightener has been my purpose from the beginning of time, in every lifetime. It's that common thread of what I'm here for. But I'm 61, and I'm in an era where spiritual talk or soul talk was just cheese crackers, loop-de-loop. She's a bit out there. Where are the white coats? And I really went through all of that, and not just from the people around me. I was the first person that people came to, no matter what my age was, when they had a problem, because I had the ability to see the answer, because that's what I was designed to do. Even I may not even understand what I'm telling them, but I understood the answer of what they needed, and they would come to me for that, but they couldn't give me the credibility of anything else because it was just incomprehensible at that time. There was no soul talk. There was a lot of talk about peace and love, but there was no soul to heart talk. There was no talk about knowingness. This was a guru type thing, and it was just not obtainable. So I understand about that kind of being ostracized for who you are and not being able to show yourself. But we're in a different era now, and we're in an era of that awakening consciousness where people are actually hungry for it. They don't realize they're hungry, but they are hungry for that soul and heart connection. And by you standing tall in who you are and shining bright and showing all that beauty and light within you, you're letting them know it's safe. It's safe for them to embrace their soul, and safe for them to embrace their heart, to let their spirit free, to open their mind to the knowingness. It's safe because look at you. And for those that aren't ready, they're not ready. You don't worry about them. They'll catch up, or their journey's theirs. You shine bright for those that are ready to receive the light.
And you also have to accept that some people are watching you, but they're not ready to
exactly
say or acknowledge it, and it has rubbed off on people that I wouldn't expect it to. And
You're seeding. Just
right.
keep watering those seeds, and then one day, they'll come into bloom.
Mhm. And I think it's a message for everyone, because regardless of who you are, regardless of what you've done in your life, there's always going to be this point in which you question who you are. And you have to put aside all of those labels that you've had for yourself or other people have given you, and you have to be willing to put those aside and accept that there might be something else that wants to come through. And you'll feel it, because there's going to be resistance there, and there might be fear of other people not understanding you, or there might be fear within yourself that you don't want to change, or you don't want to go through the effort of seeing, or what's the right word? I guess it's just scary and unpredictable
when it's unknown.
When it's unknown.
That's the thing is that people are always afraid of what they don't know. But if you think about it, you have absolutely no knowledge whatsoever what's going to happen in your next moment. It's unknown. If you become so crippled of every second of your life, you're just going to live as a cripple. But if you look upon life as an adventure and become an explorer, an investigator, and allow things to happen, you've got one here, the meaning of true bliss. So much to learn today, and so much peace is brought to us, that it is of great measure. We would like to entertain the idea of bliss. What is true bliss? It lurks in your understanding, but you have not truly grasped the feeling of its purest form. Not yet. It has been halfway there, but to be truly present would initiate a permanent change in perception for who you really are. You have to let go of the physical, the emotional aptitudes that make you up. You have to get rid of all those external features so you can marvel in your truest sense. This is the awakening point of your life. We have to be willing to do the work, because the brain is still functioning on an old program. And we have to be willing to reprogram that program.
Yeah, it's free will. It's
free
will to, and when we desire to shift something within ourselves, or for me, what I would always say, or have the intention of, is show me what I don't want to see. Show me what I can't see, because what I realized is you don't know what you don't know, and I wouldn't always have a question to ask when I would sit down in meditation. Sometimes I would be completely blank, and that's when I would say, okay, I surrender, I let go. Tell me what I want to hear, or not what I want to hear, but tell me
what you need to hear. Mm-hmm.
And that became my motto, I think, for life in general. It transferred over to my day-to-day life, because then I started to not have as many plans or expectations, and more just, okay, where do I need to be? What do I need to see? Who do I need to meet? And I would start just literally following my body and my emotions, and letting that guide my, seriously, every move. I would do anything. I would, if I could be so confident in that guidance system, I could do anything. And being able to trust that completely, it opened so many doors, because
it's like coming home, isn't it?
Yeah, and something that I don't always bring up when I talk about this is some of the more humorous games that I got put up to in the beginning to get me to trust more, and to get me to really, really, really have my ears perked up all the time, and not just occasionally, but always be listening. And I would often go out on nature walks, and because that really connected me even deeper. And I remember I was walking and I was talking with Spirit the whole time, and I said, I don't want to look like a fool talking to myself. So if other people come by, I want you to tell me, you know. And I remember every single time I would always be alerted when somebody would be there, because I was still self-conscious.
Sorry about that interruption, folks. We had a little technical drop. Those are the earthly things that happen. Sometimes I think the spirits get in there and start playing with the internet energy. Go back to your beautiful forest of your walk meditation, because we need to get back into a lovely flow.
Yeah, so I got put up to a lot of challenges, if you will, to get to a point where I could really trust and really listen. And so I would walk around this pond and with my eyes closed, and I felt so comforted, I guess is the best way, so handled with care, that I would be able to put my mind aside and put my fear aside and to truly listen. And I think those exercises really sparked that deeper connection, and you'll see it in the writing too. In the book, you'll see how it really deepens as you move through it.
Mm-hmm.
And most of this is in order that I delivered it. So in the beginning, you know, you'll feel a certain tone, a certain energy, and towards the end, it's much more intimate, and you feel as though it's your personal journey and your personal expansion along the way.
It awakens as you read.
Yes, and it's amazing because for everybody that's reading it, it's like they're speaking with their divine. And that's what I want people to realize, is that this isn't about me showing you what I have and what I've delivered, and it's my information that I'm just allowing you to read and experience. It is literally the, I guess you would say, the oneness that we're all connected to, that source energy. And when we dial into that, when we are personally in our own homes reading this book, we're connecting with that, and we're being encouraged, and we're being given humor to help us on this journey. And I love it. I love that it's deep, but also lighthearted at the same time, and put in such simple ways and metaphors that we can use to help guide us. And so I feel that this work is set apart from other, you know, quote-unquote channeled books. I wouldn't use that term in my speaking about it, because I feel it's
your own personal discovery.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the thing, is by it being personal to you, it becomes intimate with us, and it allows us to then open up to our own journey, our own divine. And you know, it's not a manual. It's not a how-to book. It's a journey of your own discovery that comes pouring through, that just keeps, you know, opening up the portals within ourselves, through resonance, and, you know, through permission to allow, through aha moments. And that's, you know, the inspire to invite, right?
Absolutely is. It absolutely is. And, you know, I want to make it clear to everyone that this is within every person, and that it really is the voice that connects us all. It's hard to put it into words, but what I mean is the voice that wrote this book exists within each and every one of us.
Absolutely.
So it's not distinct to me.
The
I'm a flavor in the soup, but that
right. You're an interpretation of what you're understanding. And the thing is, the divine knowledge, that divine, beautiful, universal source knowledge, is the same knowledge that's going through everybody. But in all those that translate it, you're translating it from your perspective, from your understanding. So somebody may pick up somebody else's book and not resonate with it. But they pick up your book, and because they're in sync with your mind thought, they resonate with it. And that's the point, is that there are different perspectives of understanding. And you may read many until you find that one that says, this is speaking to me. And that's, otherwise there'll be just one book that fits all. We're not designed to fit all, but there is a common denominator to us of that divine intellect, that beautiful peace and tranquility, that meaningful purpose, that being a contributor to the world. It's within all of us. And that divine truth is within all of us, and that is consistent no matter what book you read or what teachings you go through. But how we interpret those teachings is related to how we've used it in our own lives. And by sharing it, you're helping somebody go, aha, yes, I can see that. I could do that. I could use it in that way. That's opened up another understanding. And so in your story of your own beautiful discovery, there are teachings in there that helps other people on their own journey of life. So you have inspired them through the book with that divine knowledge that invites them to now seek out the knowledge that lies within them, that wants to come through them in the taking of their own journey and finding their own meaningful purpose. Because when it comes down to it, we're all designed for a meaningful purpose, aren't we? And once we step into that, and whatever role it is, we actually now are living in our own divine truth. What we're designed here to do, we're being of service, not servitude, but of service to mankind. And that is that reciprocal energy going back and forth that makes this world go round. And one of the issues we've had for so long is that the energy has been very, I'll use the word negative vibration, and it hasn't been reciprocal. It's been about my energy. I'm not going to share it with anyone. And the more you give, the more you share, the more you exude your energy out to other people, the more energy that comes back and then raises up. And that is really where we're at right now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I also want to make this point that I think is also very foundational to this is, and people that will read my book will really feel this, but I never understood that this concept of God or source energy would feel such a reverence for humanity and have such a deep love for humanity. Almost like, and there is a sentence in the book that just came to my mind that said, human beings are the real masters. You teach us. And I was like really blown away by that. I thought, how ironic, because as human beings, we treat ourselves so small.
Yes.
And we act like God is so much larger and punishes us.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a victimizing belief. And I think, what my work is about, it transcends any religion. It goes beyond any one way of thinking. It's a universal thing. And having this knowing that I'm part of this and I'm part of this wholeness and there's no hierarchy in any of it, it brings everything down to earth. It brings everything into perspective. And I think that is so crucial to know as you're embarking is don't get down on your knees.
Yes.
And no, raise up.
Right.
See who you really are. And we often think that that's selfish. And there's another line in the book that says, if we were you would be as selfish as possible, because we see being selfish as the greatest form of self-love, something to that extent.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Well, I call it the importance of you. You have to place importance on you. You have to be that whole person, mind, body, and soul, in health, in your own inner wealth. You have to be whole in order to be able to bring that beautiful divine energy and meaningful purpose to the world. But there's a difference between self-importance, which is ego-derived, and Jenny comes from insecurity. But being important in your own life, it's the cellular structure of life. Each cell must be plump and juicy and abundant in order for it to create the whole in a healthy manner. And so you have to look upon yourself as part of that equation. The more I am, the more I have to give, the more my cup runneth over. So be abundant without any apology. Be abundant in your life. And what we're seeing a trend now is the abundance and the abundant wealth that we look for today isn't in the house and the fast car and the fancy clothes. It's in the abundance of being, of character, of contribution, of celebration of one another. It is that abundance that we seek in life now, and that what we're seeing the younger generation seek. They're not being bought in, a lot of them, not being bought into this stereotype that you need to be rich in order to be important. They're understanding that the importance comes from your heart, your soul, your mind integrity, and authenticity. It's a lovely era to be alive. For me, I'm kind of on winding down my chapters. Hopefully I have at least 3 more chapters in my life, because I've still got a lot to give and a lot to contribute. But in watching people like yourself, the youth, and seeing how much you're stepping into this role now, and not having to wait until you're 40, 50 or older, and being of this beautiful divine essence now, truly gives me absolutely hope and celebration of what our future can be. The tide has turned, and you can see it in the political arena right now. People are tired of the hierarchy dictating what the masses should do, and people want to have an individual voice and also a say in their own future. And in this movement, this revolution that's happening out right now, it's about togetherness. It's about uniting. It's about celebrating, contributing, and caring for one another. And I think we're stepping into an era of kindness. And that is that first step, isn't it? By being kind to yourself, you open up those channels to the divine essence.
Absolutely. I think it is. I think we are moving into an era, a new era, but it's also continuous evolution.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's really enlightened me, is just seeing this as, it's not just that it started in 2012. It's been, a continuous thing. And so it is a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing more people collectively, finding what feels good and what doesn't feel good helps us to then bond together and to go in one direction. And so, that I think that's part of, that kind of how it works with contrast here, is sometimes we have to experiment a lot and get a lot of negative results and see a lot of chaos in order to collectively all move in a different direction that feels better.
And be willing to adapt, to adopt, to change. If we're afraid of change, we're going to stagnate. There is a wonderful book called Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, MD. And he wrote this for the business world, a metaphorical book. 2 mice, 2 men, a round abundance of cheese. One day the cheese is gone. And there's the reactions of those 4 characters. And it's a defining thing of our characters in life. Some give me back my cheese at all costs. I'm going to sue you. I'm not moving anywhere. The other's a little nervous and stressed about, oh my goodness, where am I going to find it? And, Scary and Sniffy going off sniffing out the new cheese. If we're not willing to change, if we're not willing to, energy flows. The divine universe is a constant movement. It is a fluidity. And if we're not willing to ride in that fluidity and follow the beautiful divine energy moving forward, we are going to get left behind and curl up and die. It is about constant movement, isn't it? And being that adventurer and that explorer and allowing things to happen to us, good and bad, because that's part of life. The beautiful movie, The Inside Out, excellent movie for people to watch on how to tap into our emotions, because these emotions are important. This is the human gift, right? The divine gift has one emotion, love. But the human has all of these emotions. And that is that human experience that can be absolutely extraordinary in partnership with the universe. Going through those emotions and allowing them to be. Not getting stuck in one, but allowing them to be.
Absolutely. And I love that movie.
Yes. I've recommended it to a few coaches and psychologists and things I've interviewed, and they've come back and go, we're using this. It is brilliant, and because it is about not getting stuck in one emotion and allowing it to flow, isn't it? Allowing it to, everything's there for a reason. Pay attention to it. It could be a message, right?
Absolutely. Yes. When you're paying attention, you start seeing those signposts more, and they're always there.
Yeah, exactly. They are always there. And, that's another thing about slowing down. Letting go of some things in your life that you simply just don't need to do, simplifying things, allowing that time for your own form of meditation, whether, be meditating or going for a walk or whatever, wherever you find that peace and that attunement, and just simplifying your life, because the stresses which you've experienced in your own family recently with your father is a killer. And it's, put him in his own redirect right now, where he has to make his own choice. Let go of the stress, simplify my life, tap into the divine, and follow that path. Because in the end, it's not even surrendering, when we partner with the divine, the stress and the anxiety of life becomes so minimal, because we're constantly guided down a path with the answers, with that knowingness. Right.
And there's also points where you are going to feel lost, even when you are connected.
Yeah.
And that's part of the game, too.
Yes, it is. It's just the lesson.
Rolling with it.
Yeah. Yeah, don't go, why me?
Right.
It is okay, what have I got to learn from this?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And everything happens for a reason, and sometimes if it is an extreme, well, it means that you haven't been paying attention to the signs. Or it's learning something from this is now going to become part of your platform or your tool in your particular teachings in life. And so it's go with the experience. Well, however it is, go with that experience. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you do it with the divine energy, you're never alone. You're not going through it alone.
Right. And even when you aren't awakened to the fact that there is a guidance system with you, you're still not alone.
Yes. It's just that you haven't tuned into that channel yet.
Helps to be aware.
Yes, exactly. And don't be afraid of it, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is supremely, there are no words for it. That knowingness and that emptiness and that everything all at once. It's you have to experience it to understand what it is, because there aren't any words that do it any justification.
No, there's not.
Not yet, anyway. We haven't formed them, but I guess we will along the way. So I know you are a blogger as well. So you have the sunflowernetwork.blogspot.ca. So you write constant blogs on there to keep people informed. So can people, how do people find you on your site, and also how do people find the book? And what's next for you?
Sure. Well, I have a website. It's called teachingsfromgod.com. And on there I have all of my social media links. and I am on pretty much everything now. I've given in, and I've pretty much signed up for everything. So it's fun, and I share many things, personal and more professional, and I really love to interact with the community. So I would encourage everyone that's listening to go and follow me and like my pages. And I also have on my website a store link, which you can click on and buy my book. There is a paperback option and an ebook option. So if you're traveling, that's really convenient. And I also have a blog, soulflower.blogspot.com, and that's on my website. Everything is on my website. So that would be the central place to kind of check out what I'm doing and listen to some other interviews and all of that fun stuff. As far as what's next for me, I'm doing what all of you are doing. I'm following the signposts.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to explain where I'm at right now.
Well, it's getting your book out because it's needing for people to read. And, I can see, some wonderful opportunities for you to go into schools and, and speak to middle school, high school, and start introducing this and, letting people, start awakening without fear. So, if anybody is listening out there and you've got a high school, middle school, or even university where you feel that this would benefit, you're available for guest speaking, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. And I love to connect with people that are in my generation and even kids that are a little bit younger than me. It's been really cool to see people light up when they realize that there is possibility to do great things, and you don't have to have a ton of money. You don't have to be in a certain situation where, basically what I'm saying is everything and anything is possible, and what you can dream, you can have as your reality. And you just have to be persistent, and you have to trust, and you have to realize that things are going to come together if you trust. And you watch for the signposts. Yeah. And you listen. And I never thought I would be an author, and yet I'm doing it. So you never know. You never know.
And that's the point. If we knew everything, how boring.
How boring.
That's the wonderful. We write the book of our life, and we have very many chapters. Some people have many books in their lives. The whole point is that by just exploring and downloading each chapter of your life and what's that next chapter going to bring me, and stop dictating, but instead invite, you'll actually see your life give you everything you need. That dictation actually is the thing that stops you from receiving what you're meant to get, because you've limited yourself or you've boxed it. If you open up the flow and say, this is how I want to feel in life. I want to live in a meaningful purpose. I want to live in joy. I want to live in abundant health, even wealth. If you invite that, the universe will always give you what you need. But we have to be open with our dialogue and with our energy in order to receive, don't we?
Absolutely. That's the key. That's the key.
Yes. Well, you are an inspiration, my dear. This has been an absolute honor to interview you today. And I am absolutely stoked on the work that you're doing, and know you're going to be back on a round table. And I love what you're doing. And I'm so happy that you stepped into your true purpose, and that you didn't get caught up and diverted into a different path. I would love to have done what you were doing as a child, but I was in a different time, just unacceptable. But it was always there in me, trying to come out, waiting for that right time. And so it doesn't matter what our age is. It's never too late, and it is something that we're meant to do in our lifetimes, is step into our divinity, step into our divine essence, our sense of knowingness, open up our soul. Because when we do, and we step into that purpose, then we truly understand what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. And it's a lovely
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm sure listeners can can feel what's going on here.
Yes. We send everybody beautiful divine love and energy. Open up, be ready to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Come on in, the water's wonderful.
It is.
Well, thank
like
you so much.
Water.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just swim in the nectar of life. It's beautiful. So don't be afraid. There's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. There is no fear here. There is only love. And when you step into that love, you truly understand. So don't be afraid. Thank you so much, Courtney. And to everyone else, remember, it's all up to you. You make the decision. It's your choice. But if you step into that beautiful knowingness, you will never look back. Until next time.